This is kind of a different video than what I usually make. This video features what it was like to be in school a little bit before the advent of computers and computer grading and such. These are the kind of things that I remember going through school with. The reading sets and the report cards coming in something like this. I can still remember going into the room and they would have a box of these things and you'd open them up and you'd start reading them, and then you'd flip them over and they'd have questions on the back that you can answer that kind of indicated did you understand what you'd read or not. So let's get into this first. Now this reading set happens to be my husband's. None of the stuff really exists from when I was younger. Nearly all of that stuff was destroyed in a house fire long time ago. So, but my husband does have his stuff, so we'll look at what he has. So what you would do is you get this card and you'd read it, and sorry about the sunlight, it is kind of streaming in through the window there. And it's a first reader lesson, and then on the back of it, it asks you some comprehension questions. And I do remember doing these, quite a bit of them, but I loved to read, and I don't believe my husband ever cared to read. The thing with these is that they're based on what most people know as instructions for the parents on the back there. But most of these are based on phonetics reading, which about 70% works for about 70% of the population, but not for everybody. Oh, hello, little Missy. I guess you want to be the object of my attention. Oh, hello. So, phonetics works for probably most people, but not everybody. And I'm assuming that this didn't work for my husband either. He didn't learn through this phonetics reading, and come to think of it, neither did my daughter. It didn't work for her either. Their learning style is totally different, but regardless, most of us had this, and most of us did benefit from it. Yep, and she's still here with us. Hello, Missy. What you doing there, Missy? Okay, this is a report card, one of my husband's report cards. Again, like I said, most of my stuff, all of my stuff doesn't exist. It was all lost through the years, especially in that house fire, everything else went. So this is what a report card would look like from, this would be the mid-60s to the early 80s before the advent of, oops, I don't want his name going on there, but the advent of computers. This is what they would look like. So let's pull this thing open and get a look at what his grades were. So here's what the inside of the report card looked like. And it's handwritten, of course, because this did predate computers, and the teachers would just write what your grades were in it. Of course, so E for excellent, G for good, P for passing, U for unsatisfactory, and S for satisfactory. So at this point in his schooling, they were still not on the traditional A through F kind of thing. That would come with later cards, but not on this one. So it might be that in the first grade they didn't get graded quite as they would when they got older. But there you go, that's what it looks like. And yes, he did get perfect attendance awards, but then so did I. I mean, unless you had like a 200-degree fever and everything else, your parents basically sent you to school. Now here's a report card from the third grade, and it is a report card from a Catholic school, so yes, he did have religion. And you see his mathematics scores are excellent, science is good. Reading, on the other hand, he's a full 3 levels, or maybe a full 3 grades below what he should. His handwriting is terrible, as obviously from the unsatisfactory. The reading I'm not surprised about, seeing it that low. Again, he is not a phonetics-based reader, neither is my daughter. And school caters to, even obviously Catholic schools, catered to how do the majority of the population learn. And if you're not a phonetics reader and that's not how you learn, you're gonna suffer. And he did. So this report card is 2 years later, and here we are in the traditional grading, the A through F kind of thing. And as you can see, you're still going to a Catholic school. There's this Christian doctrine. Mathematics is an A. On the other hand, the reading is now 6 below what it should be. I'm not sure what that means, if it's 6th grade or some measure that they have. But again, if you have a non-traditional way of learning, if it's not like what 70% of the population learns, you kind of suffer when you go to regular school. And again, perfect attendance. But most things are satisfactory or pretty high. So it looks pretty good. So this is, I believe it's high school. And this is what your report card would look like. And again, it's more on the traditional. But this one here, they actually put what his grades were, which is kind of neat, because you can get a feel for how you're doing. Of course, he had typing, which is pretty interesting. I remember doing typing. Math, his grades are excellent. Biology, he starts to catch up. It might be that his reading finally came online, because reading does affect a lot of things in school. You got to be able to comprehend word problems and the such. Social studies. So he may have struggled a lot in elementary school, but once he got into high school, he really began to catch up. And there you have it. A brief glimpse at what it was like to go to school, some of school, in the mid to late 60s, the 70s, and the early 80s. So, hope you enjoyed it, and thank you if you stayed to the end.